So there are a lot of color-based tutorials at the moment on YouTube, and also Virtual Riot did something yesterday for Ableton Live. And I got inspired and I thought to myself, well, we can do this in Bitwig too. So I created here this color machine preset that's completely free for you to use. The link is in the description below. And it's some kind of note-tuned resonator. So we use here one instrument track that plays some chords. We use these notes on this first track here where we have some kind of dubstep bass. And then we import here the notes with the note receiver. You need to add actually this note receiver on the bass track. And then you import here the notes, and then we use these notes inside of the color machine to create multiple bandpass filters. And these bandpass filters are exactly at the same frequencies of these notes. So this is here how the chord progression sounds. It's just a simple chord progression. And on the first track here, we have just some kind of random dubstep bass out of current. And then, like I said, we use basically here these notes inside of the color machine, and then we can create here some kind of resonator on top. So it's not only useful for color bass, you can also just use this on whatever sound you want to use it. It's just basically a tuned resonator. So then I want to explain how this works and how you can use it here. There are actually a lot of controls in there. So in here we have a bandpass filter, right? And this bandpass filter is controlled first and foremost by frequencies from coming in here. From the first track. Then there's also here voice stacking enabled. So we basically can create multiple octaves with these voice stackings here. So this works like this. In here, I create a chord progression in one octave. And in here, with each voice stack, I create another octave. So I just play basically one octave of notes, and then I duplicate this patch to the next octave, then the next octave, the next octave above. And you can choose basically here with this note or with this number, how many octaves you want to create. So if you leave this off, you basically just play the notes from this octave here, right? So if you have this on off, you can create your multiple notes or as many notes as you want. But if you are lazy like me and you don't want to duplicate all the notes, you just go in here and increase the voice stacking to, let's say, 3, and then you create 3 or 2 additional octaves on top. But the more octaves you add, the more CPU you draw. Okay, then you have here an octave switch, which means basically you can offset everything. So if you have this at 0, the first octave is actually exactly in the octave that you paint the notes in. But then you can offset this here maybe 1 octave higher. So you start 1 octave higher than the notes are. Or 2 octaves. Or down. So you can offset the whole bandpass filter range to lower octaves or higher octaves. So you can mix and match how you want it to have. Then we have here the resonator knob that obviously increases the resonance until it sings here, or it self-resonates at the end. You can also change here the bandpass filter type, so we can switch this to 8-pole, so it's pretty steep bandpass filter. It all has some kind of different sound to it, so you can play around with this. Then we have here the Haas knob. It's actually not a Haas effect, because Haas is a different delay, or different delay for the left and the right channel. And here I changed the frequency of the bandpass filter slightly from the left to the right. So it sounds like this. So if you just use this here in small amounts, you get a nice stereo effect for the bandpass filtering. Then we have your match input, which is basically the fall time for the follower here. So if you have this at 0, it loosely follows the volume of the input signal on this band. And if you pull this all the way up to 100, then it pretty much glues to the amplitude envelope of the original signal on this band. Then of course here we have a high pass and low pass. This is just in the end here, so you can so you don't need to add actually an EQ at the end. You can just use this here. Just some simple stuff. Then in here I have some additional controls because there's not enough room in here. So I have an amplifier here at the end, so you can make it a bit louder if the output signal is actually too low. And then there's here the octave distribution, where you can basically use or take all the octaves and then push it or squeeze it together, right? It sounds a bit weird, but you can also then use here the quantizer to make it more musical. Until you land basically on one octave, and here you can spread out everything to all octaves, and it's basically squeezing all the frequencies together. And if you think that's not musical enough, you can, like I said, you use the quantizer and just dial in the scale you want, and then it's more musical. Right. So this was some kind of idea. I thought it's maybe interesting, and you can also modulate this here rhythmically then with the LFO or something like this. Then we have your pre-tilt. This is basically an EQ in the pre-FX box here. So you can amplify the low end or the high end of the input signal before it goes into the bandpass filter. So it sounds like this. So you can get some lower frequencies out if you don't want to have this inside here of this whole system. Then we have waterfall, which is also interesting because I thought maybe it's interesting if you could delay actually all these bandpass filters here by different amounts, right? So it sounds a bit like a waterfall. Maybe too much here, too much overtones. Right, so you can delay multiple bandpass filters by different amounts, and it gives you this kind of waterfall effect. You can also change how this behaves here by using a different algorithm. You can also change this here to randomized. So, or randomized stretch is, I think, the best. Or maybe rand this one here. So every time you hit a note, basically, you get a different distribution. Maybe use a different bass sound here for this. Let me see. Or this one here. Or maybe this one here. So you have to play around with all the settings to get the right interesting sound for your song. Then there's something like use AD here. And the idea behind this was that I'm using here an AR all the time. So when you have basically long chords, you want to keep here this voice alive. But sometimes you want to have shorter notes coming, or like having here, right, staccato or maybe an arpeggiator on here, right? And then you have short notes all the time. Let's say you have note repeats on. And then you can put this here on use AD, and then you can change the decay time here. So you switch on use AD, then you use basically here this attack decay thing, and then you can change the decay time. And if this is off, then we use basically this AR here. And they're mostly just a sustain, basically to sustain the voice. Yeah, I think that's kind of it here. Like I said, this is completely free. You can use this in the current Bitwig version. Link is in the description below. And yeah, let me know what you think. And yeah, be aware of the CPU, right? So if there's too much CPU usage, just dial down here the voice stacking, and you're probably good. Thanks for watching, leave a like, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.